Tampa is 7-5. They finally have their bye. Maybe they change things up. It isn't too late. None of the 4 games left on their schedule is against a winning team. But if the next month doesn't look different and a whole lot better, the question is going to be, do Brady and Bruce run this back again next year? And if so, the even better question might just be, why? Those are my thoughts. Let me bring my crew back in here and see what they think. And I'm looking at you, Louis Riddick. What's your reaction?
Yeah, look, I mean, you bring up some really valid points. I mean, that the marriage philosophically between what a player has done in his past and what a coach has done in his past and what you want to then, have it, how you want it to gel together there in the present and in the future is really the key to success in the NFL. I mean, that's not something that's unheard of. That's something everyone knows. And you better find that sweet spot, man. Wind up having a bunch of regrets after a season that has had moments for Tampa that have looked very, very promising from an offensive standpoint, especially when the running game and play action game have been clicking and they have had some balance. And when that young defense has been hitting on all cylinders and playing with a lead, and then Todd Bowles can get after teams the way he wants to, and that young secondary can play with confidence. When they get off of that schedule, when they get out of character, and they start doing things that Tom has not been used to and putting more stress on this defense in a way that really right now, I don't know if they had the maturity level, especially in the back end, to handle. It's a recipe for disaster. And that is just the last thing that anybody wanted or anybody envisioned when they put this whole thing together back during August. And you're right. They have time now to get it together. I just hope that they are open-minded enough to make the necessary changes so they don't have this season being one where it's a bunch of failed expectations.
Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they need to just go look at last year's tape of the Patriots and just start copying plays and running those plays. Like that worked. And I think they need to mix in some of those things that Bruce Arians liked, because I'm never going to argue that you should not take deep shots down the field. Even if those don't work as a defender, a team that's willing to do that is scary. And that changes the way the rest of the defense prepares. So I think they should take shots, continue to do it whether they hit them or not. But the important thing, I think, on early downs, they need to make positive plays. They can't have runs for no gain, and they can't have incomplete deep shots. They need to be able to get themselves in position to allow Tom Brady to attack with those option routes, get AB in space and let him work one-on-one. That's one of the benefits they have of having so many weapons, is you can't double them all. And you're not going to trick Tom Brady into thinking that everybody is covered. He's going to find where the matchups are and be able to exploit them. So I think they need to spread it out, make it easier, and don't be afraid to take 5 or 6 yards, 3 or 4 yards, and let your receivers make plays.
Schefter, what's your sense from what you're hearing going on down there?
Well, listen, this story still is being written, and appreciate all the points that everybody's made here. But the fact of the matter is we're just after Thanksgiving here, and this is where Tampa Bay will either win games with the easy schedule and quiet some of this conversation, or it will lose more and invite more of this conversation. And if it's a disappointing end to a season that had a lot of hopes and a lot of expectations and a lot of people thinking and believing that this team could represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, then again, it's time to think about what this team needs to do to adjust moving forward. But I still think that it's a little early to figure out exactly what's going on. I think that they need to use this bye to tighten up some of those issues, make some of those corrections, and correct those mistakes going forward. But it's still early for this Tampa team. If this team can make that type of extended postseason run, then it'll quiet a lot of this talk.
And it makes sense. And look, some things are excuses and other things are reasons. They didn't have an offseason. They didn't have a preseason. It has been a truncated plan, and now they haven't had a bye until all this way. Those things do contribute, Domonique. I see your face. They contribute sometimes
to a team. They don't get trophies for that. They don't get trophies for that. So, yeah. I mean, I understand that those are reasons, and that's fine. But when you go down to Tampa Bay and you bring in all these star players, you bring in an aging quarterback, the point is to win a Super Bowl. So 15 years from now, when we look back at the 2020 season, no one is going to care about all these excuses. They're going to look and see who won the Super Bowl and who didn't. And it seems like the Bucs are headed in a direction of being one of the teams that didn't.
Go ahead, Louis.
Grady, let me add on to that. Look, I think I disagree with Adam a little bit in this regard. They're running out of time. We're in December now. So they don't have much more time to figure it out. And they need to make sure that they really utilize this bye week to go ahead and self-scout and figure out a few things, because it's not just good enough to win games here down the stretch. What Tampa needs to do is establish who they are going to be, provided that they get into the postseason, and how they want to play. So if you come out and you beat some inferior teams from a personnel standpoint by throwing the ball 55 times, that, to me, that's just not good enough, because that's not who they need to be once they get to the playoffs. They got to really establish their identity on offense, which means going back to what Tom is most comfortable with. So when he gets into it, when the rubber meets the road, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, they know exactly what they're going to do. So I think this next month is critical.
But Lou, your point right there is exactly right. They need to do what Tom is comfortable with. And all those long balls, that seems like it's typical of Bruce Arians' coach teams and not the way that Tom Brady's played. So I don't know. If Tom's comfortable with that, then keep doing it. But whatever he's comfortable with, tailor the game to him, make him as comfortable as possible, and give themselves the best chance to win moving forward.
That's what has seemed to make sense to me. Their last 4 games, by the way, after this bye, they get the Vikings, then at the Falcons, then at the Lions, and then home to the Falcons. So not a winning team left, as I mentioned, on the schedule. We'll see if they can pull it together. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.